Australia is one of the richest countries in the world, so why can't so many of its people afford a decent home? It's a question that keeps a lot of us up at night. The dream of owning a home, something our parents and grandparents took for granted, now feels like a distant fantasy for millions. You work hard, you save what you can, but the goalposts just keep moving further and further away. It's not just you, this is a national crisis. And if we want to understand where we might be heading, we need to look across the Pacific to Canada. What's happening there is more than just a cautionary tale, it's a terrifying preview of Australia's potential future. Just a few years ago, Canada was held up as a model of stability, a strong economy, welcoming immigration policies, and beautiful safe cities. But beneath the surface, a housing bubble was inflating to epic proportions. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, home prices detached from reality, soaring far beyond what average local incomes could support. Sound familiar? The Canadian government tried to cool things down with interest rate hikes and taxes on foreign buyers, but it was too little, too late. The bubble didn't just deflate, it burst. Prices plummeted, leaving many new homeowners with mortgages worth more than their houses. This is called being underwater, and it's a financial nightmare. People lost their life savings, construction projects ground to a halt, and the dream of homeownership turned into a trap. Now, let's bring it back to Australia. Look at Sydney, look at Melbourne. Our property markets have followed a scarily similar trajectory to Canada's. For decades, we've been told that property never goes down. This belief, fueled by low interest rates, government incentives, and a constant influx of investment, has pushed our prices into the stratosphere. A recent report showed that in Sydney, it now takes the average person over 15 years to save for a 20% deposit on a house. And that's assuming prices don't rise in that time, which of course, they will. For so many young people and families, the math just doesn't add up anymore. You can have a good full-time job, even two in a household, and still be locked out of the market entirely. This isn't just an economic issue, it's a human story. It says about the young couple who wants to start a family but is stuck renting a tiny apartment because they can't afford a backyard for their kids to play in. It's about the recent immigrant who came to Australia for a better life, works tirelessly, but finds the promise of stability is just out of reach. It's about the parents who worry their children will never have the same opportunities they did. This growing frustration is creating deep social divides. It pits generations against each other, homeowners against renters, and it erodes the very fabric of our communities. When people feel like the system is rigged against them, that no matter how hard they work, they can't get ahead, they lose faith. And that's a dangerous thing for any society. So, what are the core drivers of this crisis? It's a perfect storm of factors. First, we have a chronic undersupply of housing. For years, we simply haven't built enough homes, especially in the places where people want to live and work. Complex zoning laws and local opposition, often called NIMBYism not in my backyard, make it incredibly difficult and expensive to build new apartments and townhouses. Second, decades of low interest rates made borrowing money cheap, pouring fuel on the fire and encouraging people to take on massive debts. Third, our tax system actively encourages property investment over other types of investment, things like negative gearing and capital gains. Tax discounts have turned our housing market into a speculative playground for investors, both domestic and foreign, who often outbid regular families trying to buy a home to live in. And finally, strong population growth, driven by immigration, has put even more pressure on our already strained housing supply. While immigration is vital for our economy and culture, we haven't planned our cities or our housing to accommodate this growth sustainably. When you compare Australia and Canada, the parallels are striking. Both are large, resource-rich countries with high living standards and small populations concentrated in a few major cities. Both have relied on high levels of immigration to fuel economic growth, and both have seen their housing markets become dangerously disconnected from local wages. In Canada, this mix proved to be explosive. Their government, like ours, was slow to act. Worried that any strong intervention would crash the market and hurt existing homeowners, who are a powerful voting bloc. They tinkered around the edges, but the fundamental problems of supply and speculative demand were left unchecked. The result was a housing market collapse that has inflicted immense pain. Homeowners are trapped, would-be buyers are still priced out of a no-volatile market, and the construction industry is in turmoil. This is the warning for Australia. We are on the same path. The social contract that promises a fair go for everyone is breaking down. The idea that hard work leads to a better life feels like a lie when the basic security of a home is unattainable. This isn't just about economics. It's about the kind of country we want to be. Do we want to be a nation of renters, where a person's financial security is at the mercy of a landlord and the whims of the market? Or do we want to be a country where everyone has a realistic chance to own a piece of it? The Canadian experience shows us that doing nothing, or doing too little, is not a viable option. The bubble will eventually pop. And when it does, the fallout will be devastating for millions of Australians. So, what's the way out? There are no easy fixes, but pretending the problem doesn't exist is the worst possible strategy. We need a massive coordinated effort from all levels of government. First and foremost, we have to build more homes. That means reforming our planning and zoning laws to allow for more medium and high-density housing, especially along transport corridors. It means investing in public and social housing on a scale we haven't seen in generations. We also need to re-examine the tax incentives that have turned housing into a financial asset rather than a place to live. Policies like negative gearing need a serious review. Does it make sense to give tax breaks to investors that help them outbid a young family trying to buy their first home? Many economists would say no. Furthermore, we need to have a mature conversation about population growth and infrastructure. It's not about being anti-integration, it's about being planning. If we're going to grow our population, we must simultaneously invest in the housing, transport, schools, and hospitals needed to support that growth. In Canada, the mismatch between rapid population increases and a stagnant housing supply was a key ingredient in their crisis. We cannot afford to make the same mistake. We need a national plan that links immigration targets to our capacity to house people properly. It's a complex and sensitive issue, but one we can't ignore if we're serious about solving this crisis. The story of Canada's housing collapse is a glimpse into a future we must avoid at all costs. It shows what happens when property prices become a national obsession, detached from the real economy and the real lives of working people. The pain being felt in Toronto and Vancouver is a direct result of policy failures that we are currently repeating here in Australia. We still have a chance to change course, but the window of opportunity is closing. We need our leaders to show courage, to make difficult decisions that may be unpopular with some in the short term but are essential for the long-term health of our nation. And as citizens, we need to demand action. This isn't a left or right issue. It's about fundamental fairness and the future of our country. The Australian dream shouldn't be a myth. It's time we fought to make it a reality again for everyone. Thanks for watching, and if you found this insightful, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the issues that matter.